Hello and welcome to the SEGA Nerdcast, episode 77. I am Chris, the editor of SEGA Nerds, and with me this week is Kopke, Marcin, and Jason. How's it going, fellas?
Hi, hello.
What's nice good, guys?
Sunny over here.
Not so much on the East Coast.
Over here.
No, definitely not.
Cold as fuck.
Yep.
I find that it was a little overblown, though, I think. What do you guys think?
They always usually over-exaggerate a little bit to make it seem like a national crisis.
Yeah, but, they canceled Raw. Come on. They were filming from their headquarters, so I'm assuming it's kind of bad, right? On the East Coast? Connecticut? Jersey? New York?
I thought they canceled Raw just because the gods were angry.
That too. They're like, you know what? The Rumble sucked. We're not going to air Raw.
I thought it was crazy because I really enjoyed Raw up to the point Daniel Bryan got eliminated, and then I was like, well, shit. You knew once Bryan got eliminated, you knew exactly what was going to happen.
It's like, yeah, now the whole Rumble sucks.
Oh man, yeah, and I think it was funny the way WWE did it because they knew they couldn't keep Daniel Bryan in at the very end if Roman Reigns was going to go on to win. They had to eliminate him early. To make sure, kind of like to temper the fans' expectations, to let you know, hey, the dude you really wanted to win is not going to win. So maybe, all the heat can kind of blow over by the time Roman Reigns wins. And then we're going to bring out The Rock to try to,
try to hype it up a little bit.
Yep, no, we're going to boo The Rock too because we don't like your decision.
Oh, my God, that was bad. Oh, man, and my wife was watching it with us, and she was just like, I feel bad for Roman Reigns. He's going to get his feelings hurt. It was funny. It was funny. But, yeah, the weather here in Maryland isn't actually so bad. We got like about an inch or so, but we have family up in New Hampshire and Maine who got a ton, especially Maine. They've got almost like over a foot of snow now. It's pretty crazy. So. But yeah, we had a really interesting show this week. We have Citizens of Earth that we're going to talk a little bit about. That was the new release last week. There's also a possible new SEGA Pluto prototype that's been released or put on eBay, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. Metacritic has come out with its game publisher rankings again, so we'll talk about where SEGA fits in with that. And there's a new Yu Suzuki interview, so it'll be interesting to see what he was able to say in that. And for our feature discussion, we're going to talk about what Japanese exclusive SEGA game we would want to see get released here in the West at some point this year. And then, as always, we'll get in and talk about what we've been playing. But first off, let's go around the room really quickly, talk about what we've been up to, just give everyone an update on what our lives has been like. And since about a week and a half since we recorded last podcast. So, Kopke, how about you start? What have you been up to, buddy?
Well, a lot of work, as usual, and going with a lot of discussions with my clients, like going back and forth. And, when that happens, stuff doesn't advance that much. So I'm in that kind of point right now. But aside from that, really taking some time to watch some movies. I finally was able to watch Short Piece, which is a Katsuhiro Otomo film by the guy who made Akira. That guy is really fantastic on this film. He always makes this kind of short films like Memories and Robot Carnival. So Short Piece really was really blew it out of the park, knocked it out of the park. He was really amazing, that film. I really enjoyed it that much. And I was finally able to see the live-action film for Gatchaman, which is known also as Battle of the Planets or G-Force. And I really love that movie. I really enjoyed Tatsunaka production series, like, for example, Samurai Pizza Cats, or which was Jatterman, or Casherns and stuff like that. I really love those films.
I have seen Cashern. That was the only movie out of everything you said that I've seen. I have
not heard any of those before.
Yeah, the thing is that maybe in America they weren't released, but in Mexico and Latin America, those are pretty popular. There were like all series, like all cartoons. That the thing is that these countries, most of those Japanese series were broadcasted on televisions on the 80s, so most of people know of this. And I was pretty excited to finally watch Gatchaman, which is Battle of the Planets. You guys did have that one over there, right?
I don't know.
I don't think we
I'm
did.
not sure.
Yeah, it was called GeForce, I think, which was these guys with kind of bird helmets.
Oh God,
I know
I
what
don't
you're
know.
talking about, but I have no clue whether it was in America or not.
I've heard of GeForce video cards, but that's about it. So,
Oh man.
Wasn't there a Power Rangers G-Force?
yes. No.
Something
Well,
like
I don't
that.
know. If it isn't, it's a
Maybe.
good new Power Rangers title.
And they could all have birds on their heads.
Yeah.
They have the
Starring
bird
Michael-
helmets. They have bird helmets, and they're like a science ninja team. And you know, the cartoon was really popular on the 70s and the 80s.
That
The
was
thing is,
Tatsunoko, I think, right?
yeah, Tatsunoko. The Tatsunoko production made that cartoon back in those years. So, like I said, I was really excited to finally watch this, and my inner nerd was like full of joy
Coming
because
out.
of this. Yeah. So that's it.
Nerdgasm.
That was pretty much Nerdgasm. I always get a lot of those.
Oh God, we don't want to hear
That
about
was
that.
pretty
Copy.
much-
Keep that to
Multiple
yourself.
times
we
a day.
don't. Fortunately, we don't. So let's go to the next one.
Marcin, what have you been up to?
Well, I mean, nothing much. A lot of socializing and hangovers.
Ah,
Game-wise, I played a couple games, but we'll talk about that later. Besides that, I went to, parties. I went to GameWorks again. I watched Gone Girl. I don't know if you guys watched that with Ben Affleck.
I've heard good things.
Yeah, it's good. It's kind of fucked up, but it's good. So if you haven't had a chance to watch it, watch it. Yeah.
I'm gonna check that out.
One day.
Jason, what about you, buddy?
Pretty much working and gaming the whole week. I mean, it's getting busy at work. It was hella busy yesterday with everybody buying generators and snow shovels and such.
It's always funny to see when there's any sort of storm, whether it's like a blizzard or a
Not even like
hurricane,
half a
tropical
foot.
storm coming. Everyone acts like it's the end of the world.
Yep.
And they just go and raid grocery stores. The things you'll never be able to find are like batteries. You can never
Yeah.
find batteries. And that
Batteries,
really
milk,
sucks for
bread.
me for when I'm trying to play my Game Gear and I go into Kmart and there's no AA batteries. What am I supposed to do there?
How long does it take before that thing dies, by the way?
It dies before I get home. From
Really?
the store while playing. No. It's I think it runs about 3 hours. I think you get about 3 hours in it. But both my Game Gears are busted. The capacitors are busted in them, so I'm gonna have to get them sent in to get fixed. I think I'm gonna get one of the new backlit LCD screens installed in it though. Apparently, those extend the battery life like up to 6 hours, so you can double it on some AA.
Nice.
I was thinking about doing the same for my Nomad, because I have a Nomad and the screen's a little wonky. But
I wouldn't mind doing that on my Nomad either. Yeah.
Otherwise, it's been work, and then I was also I've been in contact with a friend of mine getting a fight stick made, and he just sent me a picture of progress from the past couple of days. I'm gonna try and share it real quick. If Google Hangouts wants to work with me.
That doesn't look like a fight stick, buddy.
Yeah. It's actually
there we
made by a
go.
guy I randomly found on Instagram, Anomaly Arcade Sticks.
I
Cost
have
me
to
like a
click on
good
your face.
couple.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I figured I had to get myself something nice to play King of Fighters and Persona with, so I found this really kick-ass design and went with it. It's going to have an 8-way gate, and it actually has, on the left and right, 2 buttons for pinball.
Pinball?
Because I randomly play a lot of pinball off of my PS3. I don't know if you guys have heard of the Pinball Arcade, but I play that a lot. So
The only
recreate the video-
pinball game I ever played was Power Rangers Zia pinball on PlayStation 1. I've never played any other pinball video
Nice.
game before.
Yeah,
So
I-
this is
I-
this is for PlayStation then?
It's for PS3, PS2. I'm getting a PS2 cable with it, and basically anything USB. So I could also use it on my PC and I believe my Xbox as well.
Nice. You would also be able to plug it into a PlayStation TV. It sounds like you'd be able to use it
I
that way
believe
too.
so.
So you'd be able to play
Possibly.
some Vita games on there.
Play some Arcana Heart 3 and Marvel Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom.
That sounds awesome.
I don't know what other fighting games were out for the Vita, but yeah, that's pretty much been my week. fight sticks, games, and work.
Cool. Yeah. So for me, the Requiem, as he's known on the site, Blake. We went to MagFest this weekend, and we had a lot of fun. We went on Saturday. We pretty much spent the majority of the day in like the merchandise area, just going around and hunting for games. There weren't a lot of panels on Saturday, unfortunately, that really interested us. There was one, like a retro gaming panel that we wanted to go to early in the morning, but we got there a little late. He was having some car trouble. And then there was another one later at night, about 6, but we actually had a meeting with someone relating to a project that we're working on with SEGA. So we ended up missing that one. So basically, all the panels that we wanted to go to, we ended up not going to any. So I do want to quickly share a few of the pickups I got while I was there, though. I was having a lot of trouble. I was very disappointed with the selection of games to buy there. There just weren't a lot. You go to a lot of these. I don't know if any of you guys go to gaming shows and conventions very often, but the large majority of games there are Nintendo stuff. Whether it's like from the NES, Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64. That's basically the large majority of stuff you find.
Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I mean, then after that, you get into some of the other stuff, like you can find Sega stuff. There's just not a lot of Sega stuff there.
That's the same way it was when I went to SGC. It was pretty much all Nintendo. I barely found any Sega, if anything. Sorry to cut you off, though. Or
I think you froze.
did I? What? Did I break the podcast?
I think you did. Ladies and gentlemen, he has broken the podcast. Technical difficulties.
Well.
Uh-oh.
Do we have some technical difficulty music?
Yeah, we can make this kind of elevator music. There
you go, an acapella version by Kapke, ladies and gents.
You guys hear me?
He's back.
Oh,
He is? Shady's back.
Issues like I always do here. Okay, I'll quickly just go through and talk about what it ended up picking up. First off, for the Gen, which is like a 2D. I've never even heard anything about it, but I usually will pick up anything kind of obscure looking, especially when it comes to Sega. I've never seen the game. It looks pretty cool, so I ended up buying it.
What is it? I missed the name completely.
Which one?
It's called
Which
the
one was it?
Every time he says the name, it cuts off.
I remember that one.
The Humans is what it's called.
Okay.
Hopefully my connection gets better before it gets worse. For the 3DO,
Every time it happens, just sing.
Yeah. Yeah, he's back.
Now there's 2 of you. It's like
All right.
Terminator.
Are we back again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're
my
back.
Goodness, this is not good. So all right, we'll get through this and then we'll get into some news really quick. I got Bazooka Tone for 3DO. I got Escape from Monster Manor, which is a really neat kind of digitized first-person shooter style game where you're going through this like haunted house. I've seen some really cool stuff about it. I've been wanting to pick it up for a while now. I got it for a fairly good deal on it.
It's like Mansion of the Hidden Souls for Saturn, from what it sounds like.
Yeah, I have that one. I have that one too. And then I got Shining Tears on
Nice.
PlayStation 2. I've been wanting to pick up a lot of the Shining games, and so that's one that I ended up picking up. And so that's pretty much all I got. Actually, Blake got a bunch of games, a lot more than I did. He kind of went crazy. He got some Japanese like exclusive games, like some Famicom stuff that looked pretty neat, and some other import stuff on the Genesis, which is pretty cool. What was he got Truxton? I forget the name it was called in Japan.
I'm trying to think of it, but yeah, that one's pretty cool.
Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, MagFest was really cool. I wish we could have went for a few more days, and if we would have been able to go Friday, we could have seen the Blast Processors play, which I wanted to do, but they ended up playing at like 1 o'clock Friday night or Saturday morning, whatever you want to call it, and we weren't able to go. I was kind of bummed about that, but hopefully next year we can watch them play. So let's get into the newsstand now, and the only release that came out last week was Citizens of Earth. Was released on the PS4, the Vita, Wii U, 3DS, and Steam. Did any of you guys give this a play at all?
Nope.
Didn't even get the chance, to be honest.
I can't say that I have.
I did buy it, and I played a little bit of it. I'm not very far into the game at all. So in the game, you take the role as the newly elected vice president of the world. You come back to your hometown after being elected.
Of the world?
Of the world. You're the vice president of the world. And you basically come back, I guess, off the campaign trail after you were elected. You come back to your hometown to try to get some like rest and recuperation. So it essentially how many RPGs start with you asleep in your bed and your mom comes to wake you up. It is that happens.
So like Pokemon, Legend of Zelda.
Almost every JRPG.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much every. I think Shining Force, I think, started that way too. I want to say.
It probably did.
But anyway, it's very Earthbound-like. So if you're a fan of that series, you kind of know what you're getting yourself into. You can see your party walk around with you. You can see the enemies on screen, and the battle system is really similar to how Earthbound was set up. And it's kind of snarky, kind of funny, really tongue-in-cheek. And it was, I forget the developer, but it was published by Atlas, which is why we're talking about it. The one negative that I want to say about the game already, it's not compatible with a PlayStation TV, because I tried it a little bit earlier today, and that sucks. It's a bummer. And I don't think there's that much touchscreen functionality in the game either. So I don't see why it couldn't be easily playable on the PlayStation TV. So get to work on that, Atlas. I want that game on my PS TV. Now, secondly, I guess the biggest piece of news this week is a new SEGA Pluto prototype has come up on eBay. Now, do you guys remember the SEGA Pluto? It kind of April of last year is when all of the news kind of.
Neptune, or am I thinking something completely different?
That's something different. The Pluto was like a prototype system that Sega had in the works that essentially bundled the Saturn with a Netlink. So it was like internet ready out of the box. There was only 2 working consoles that we know of. One was from a former Sega employee. He lives in Japan now. He got it when he left the company. Somehow he was able to obtain one, and he posted it on a web forum last year. And then like a day or two later, this guy named Robert Vega came online and started posting stuff that he bought one from a flea market in California. He bought it for $1, and we actually had him on the Nerdcast a long time ago, and we covered the whole Pluto saga quite a bit. He tried to sell it several times. I think he ended up getting an $18,000 bid on it, but the seller fell through. Could you imagine that? But what this one's different. This one's different than the other ones because this is actually not a working Pluto. This is more of a mock-up. So it's none of the parts work. This is basically it would have been like for display during like meetings or things like that. It looks, and it's completely white, whereas the other one's all black. So everything's just not working. It's like a resin cast of the Pluto. The problem is there's really no way to tell if it's legitimate or not. It looks fine and everything. It's just there's no real markings on it. It has a Sega Saturn sticker on the lid, but other than that, there's no other markings on it. Now, the biggest sticking point with this on bidding for it is they're selling it for $10,000.
That's
Yeah, I
a
smell
bit
fishy.
much.
It's an
Yeah.
expensive paperweight.
Exactly.
much.
I mean, if it's legit, then it would be kind of a cool collection to have. But there's really no other use for it. Now, the person who's putting it up on sale has 100% positive feedback, and she said that her husband, it's actually his console, and she said her husband actually used to work at Sega, and he got it when he was leaving the company, and they live in the California area, so it kind of puts them in the area where if he did work at Sega of America, which is located in California, it kind of makes sense. So
I think
it could be legit.
Sorry. I think this is one of those stories where the wife is like, "Okay, husband, your stuff is like ruining the backyard or stuff like that. So I'm gonna sell your old stuff without your permission and I'll post it on eBay."
Gonna sell all your shit, and you're gonna get all the money back.
And we're gonna buy stuff for us, not just for you, for us.
I want that damn fridge, damn it. You said you'd buy.
We need a fridge and a family sedan right now. Sell everything.
My mom used to do that to my dad when she'd have garage sales. Like she'd be very successful in selling stuff, and then she'd run out of things to sell. So then she'd just go into the garage and like find my dad's tools and like air pump and like all this other stuff and just start selling them. My dad would come home and be like, "What the hell are you doing? Selling my stuff,
making money."
Yeah. So
yeah, I think this one is one of those stories.
Yeah, it could be. Next up, Marcin, I want you to take this one because I think you wrote the story for it. Metacritic just came out with its, I think, 4th or 5th annual game publisher rankings. So tell us how Sega did and what more can you tell us about it?
So basically, Metacritic has been doing this for 5 years so far. And they basically rank game publishers based on their average score, the amount of games that they were released, and how well they did. So they split the publishers into 2 categories. So first, it's major publishers. So anything between 14 and over is considered a major publisher. Anything that's any publisher that releases between 6 and 13 are considered mid-sized publishers. So Sega was thrown in the second category, but in that category they were ranked number 5. So that's actually pretty good considering they had around 16 or 17 publishers in that category. So they did beat out publishers like Konami, Warner Brothers, Interactive, Koei Tecmo, Zen Studios. They also actually have the highest average among PC game publishers, so they're ranked number 1 on Metacritic. Their Metascore is number 1.
You see this red right here in their Metacritic score distribution?
Yeah.
That's all Sonic Boom, I bet. right all there. Right
it
there.
Definitely is probably Sonic Boom. I guarantee it.
Oh, poor Sega.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, number 1 in PC is pretty good. I mean, people keep saying PC Master Race. There you go, Master Race, Master Publisher, right?
Master Sega.
Yeah, so good job to them for ranking so high in both categories.
Yeah, and actually Atlas didn't do so bad. They came in 12th out of 16, so that's not bad, especially being such a small developer. But man, that's weird. I thought that they would have done better than that. They have a 67.7 Metacritic score average for all the games that they did. What's also... Oh, what were you going to say?
That Atlas is more of a niche publisher, so I think it's more to that.
Very true.
Right, but I mean, still, I would think that they would review better than that, I guess. It's interesting to note that Sega went up 3.6 points on the average Metacritic score versus last year, versus 2013.
Alien inflation.
Yeah, so it's interesting to see that. It's probably, man, I'd like to see just basically how much Colonial Marines affected the score versus Sonic Boom, because those are two kind of really high-profile disappointments.
That red is Colonial Marines and Sonic Boom, for sure.
Oof, yeah.
On that bar.
Nintendo, on the other hand, is number one in the major publisher rankings. So they had a 76.5 average Metacritic score, which is actually not as high as Capcom, Paradox Interactive, and Telltale Games.
I don't know how Capcom's still getting rankings.
And what's also interesting, had Sega released a few more games and it kept the same average, they would have ranked higher than Sony. Sega has a 73.1. Sony had a 73.5. So that's just kind of an interesting thing, just to see that. But I mean, it's harder to keep, the more games you release, obviously it's harder to keep that average up. So anyway, kind of interesting thing. I know a lot of people don't put a lot of stock in Metacritic, and I don't really either. But I think it's also just kind of an interesting, thing to talk about and see kind of where Sega stacks up critically across the gaming industry. So yeah, there's that. Now, Kopke, I want you to take this next one if you could. Yu Suzuki had an interview with Polygon, and what was it that they talked about? What can you tell us about that?
Well, basically, Polygon tried to make an article like, what is Yu Suzuki doing now? Why isn't he making more money and stuff? Well, basically, when Yu Suzuki left Sega, he became an advisor, and he has like a really small office, and Polygon was trying to make the angle that, Yu Suzuki still makes some cool ideas for games, but needs somebody who gives money to them, and that's practically the problem that's happening with those games that people are expecting for Yu Suzuki to deliver, because, he really wants to make those games, but he needs a lot of money, and especially when we talk about games like Shenmue 3 or like a new Virtua Fighter, who require a lot of investment, and, looking at the point that these games didn't make that much profit at all, it seems like a really hard thing for investors to put their money into it. So that was kind of what the Polygon interview was trying to tell the readers.
I like this image of Yu Suzuki right here, though. He looks awesome.
He is awesome.
That is pretty sweet. Hang-on bike, Virtua Fighter
I'm gonna get that
Virtua Racing Formula
on my
1.
back.
Like a tramp stamp?
My whole back is going to be that. Just a big portrait of Yu Suzuki on my back.
Have the F-14
So basically what they were
instead of
saying
it
is...
facing to the right. Well, you can finish, Kopke. What's halfway through this?
They were saying, like, okay, if this guy made a lot of greatest hits in the industry and practically made a revolution out of every game, why aren't people like giving him money to make more stuff? So they were basically asking people or investors to like invest more in Yu Suzuki, because he still has a couple of ideas. He just needs the money.
I do think it's really mind-boggling how he was so influential for the past 2 decades, and now, everything that he's done, just kind of shrunk into this office where he's doing, mobile games, really low-budget games, to, stay afloat, and not only that, but, to have enough money to have that one last big console game that he wants, with a big budget and things like that. And I think they should do it. They should totally, give him the reins and let him do what, he does best. Just good games. So
same thing that happened with Yuji Naka and Naoto Oshima, who were the creators of Sonic. They're basically in the same spot, but they still are making games. So it's kind of sad to see that.
What's Yuji Naka up to anyway?
He has a company named Probe, and he's currently making the Digimon series games. And also there's this new game that everybody's being excited about, which is called Rodea. And it's coming out in Wii U. And we don't know if it's hitting the West, but at least in Japan, people are pretty excited to play that thing.
Yeah, it's going to come out on Wii U, 3DS, and it's what's also weird is there's going to be a Wii version of it as well, because everyone thought it was canceled, and then just a few months back, they said no, it's not canceled. We've actually been developing it, and in fact, it's because it was originally a Wii game. It's going to get we moved development to the Wii U, but we're also going to pack in a Wii version. So kind of like when you buy a Blu-ray movie, and they also throw in a DVD version, just in case you ever need a DVD version. I guess kind of the same way. But in Japan, that's what they do. They don't have Blu-ray and DVD in Japan. They just have Wii U and Wii games. So that's how they. So.
What's this fancy Blu-ray you're talking about? We don't know what that is.
Okay, Kopke, talk through the next one as well, because I have no idea what all this stuff is.
Okay, a new JAEPO Expo is coming up. JAEPO is a kind of arcade and amusement expo that happens in Japan, and so Sega Amusement Japan always delivers their new arcade titles there. So they announced their new lineup, which this time is a little bit shorter than last year, because last year they had really strong big titles such as Fighting Climax and Shining Blade Arc. No, what's Blade Arcus from Shining, which is the series. Both were fighting games. People were really excited about this, along with new My versions, which is a really popular dancing and rhythm arcade over there. So this time because these current games are on arcade sites right now in Japan, and they're pretty big and successful, along with Porter Break, they decided this time to kind of throw in more into different type of arcades. This time they're delivering a new My version, which is orange. The current one is green. And they're also releasing a new Mushi King. Mushi King is returning. It's an arcade game for kids, which features that you have it's basically like Pokemon, but with bugs. And this time they are going to be delivering a 2-player version of that game. There's a new Mushi King game. And other one, it's a rhythm arcade game made by the same guys from My, which, like I said before, is a really popular one over there. And this one is going to be called Chunidum, which features a air guitar system, and it kind of makes kind of a pun with the Chubinilla thing, with the rhythm thing, and it's kind of very Japanese centered stuff. And the other one, it's a really interesting one, which is called Wonderland Wars, which is basically like Total War with a pen touch, and you can use this pen to attack the guys on the screen and select stuff and really trace the way you are attacking. And it kind of has like this manga and very Japanese thing on the setting and the story and the plot. And the other things are new UFO catchers, which is this crane arcade games where you catch your toy and you just throw money into it. And most of them are rigged, but it's kind of the thing. But they decided to throw new models, the UFO Catcher 9, and there's a new UFO Catcher that features 4 UFO catchers, because 4 is more fun than 1, yeah, right? And the last thing they threw in were two how do you call that? Like this kind of casino pachinko games, and 2 arcades for kids. One is a kind of weird arcade which projects like kind of a silhouette into sand, and you have to sculpt that kind of silhouette so you can earn points on that arcade, which is really very kiddie centered. And last one is basically a robot ride. Those kind of arcades where you throw in a coin, the children just sits in there and spins, and that's it. That's JAEPO's lineup about Sega. What's interesting, I think, it's the system that they're going to be delivering for Chunidum and Wonderland Arcade, Wonderland Wars Arcade. I think those 2 are pretty interesting to see how they work.
You wouldn't be able to release something like Wonderland Wars in the States in arcades, especially if it has something like a pen touch, because people wouldn't use a pen to touch it. I could see them trying to use something else of their body parts to touch and
like their fingers, right? Their fingers.
Possibly fingers, yeah, maybe fingers, or other things. So
churros that they're holding in one hand.
Mm-hmm. That's gonna do it for the news. Next up, and kind of sticking with over in Japan, we want to talk about our future discussion is going to be what Japanese exclusive Sega game would you pick to get released in the West in 2015? So it's kind of an interesting question because there's not a ton of stuff that's actually been announced that's going to be coming up in 2015. So what we can do then is we can talk about stuff that's also been released here recently. So maybe stuff that's been released last year. That's on the table as well. So let's go around the room. Kopke, why don't you start us out since you're our resident Japanophile, and let's know what you think.
Okay, well, I think they should deliver more Yakuza titles. We don't know if Ishin is gonna come here, but at least Zero should make it because the previous ones were selling well and people were interested in playing those, mostly as the Shenmue successors. 5 is finally coming here. I think Zero has a really nice chance for the public or like people to really be interested in that game. I think Yakuza 0. Ishin is kind of hard for that game because it's really Japan-centered on the way that it has more to do with Japan history rather than gameplay and an experience of a previous Japanese setting. And other one I think it would be really, really interesting is Border Break. Border Break is an interesting arcade that they have over there. But it's like, have you guys ever played Virtual On?
I've played Virtual On.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So it's basically Virtual On's successor, but also has this kind of FPS, kind of Borderlands style of gameplay.
Oh, nice.
So if they ever release that over here, I think they have in their hands a potential Borderlands killer. So, but they have to, I think. They have to get the people from Xbox One and PC to get this game. Would be really interesting. It has a lot of mecha stuff. It has a lot of combat system. It has a lot of teams. It has online play, which is really interesting, and multiplayer. Their modes are really great, and they have like 3 versions already, like Borderland Airburst, and Borderland Scramble. So you have a lot of content in case the game hits. You have a lot of stuff to still deliver for the game and keep it alive. I think they have a really interesting chance on succeeding. I think the main point for that series is to have proper marketing. And we were watching with Chris and Martin the other day that the Border Break artwork book is going to be released on America. And the interesting thing is that the publisher is SEGA, so we don't know what's going on there, but it's interesting to see that this artwork is coming to the West. And I think they should try to deliver some fighting games they got there. Like, I don't know, it's hard to know if Fighting Climax would make it over here, but the game is really fun. It's really interesting. Like I said before and on other times, I think they have a really nice potential for that one, especially since the otaku crowd is growing a lot on the West. I think they have a really nice chance of succeeding with that game, especially because it features most of the main characters from the main animes right now. And the other one, in case they don't want that, I think they have a really nice chance with Blade Arcus from Shining, which is also a fighting title. I think they should try to...
You cheated, Kopke. You're supposed to pick one.
There goes my list, damn it.
I think you said 10 games.
Well, I think I chose the most interesting ones. I think Border Break has the most chance of succeeding in Yakuza.
I thought you would also throw in Puyo Puyo Tetris while you're at it.
No, I think the thing with Puyo Tetris, even
there.
if we love it, is that it's a very niche thing. I think the 4 other ones have a more success
Well, maybe
rate.
if they brought it over here, it would be Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine and Tetris.
And Tetris, yeah. I think
Was there ever a sequel to that thing?
No.
Mean Bean Machine 2?
No, it was never.
Dr. Robotnik's
They
Mean
actually
Bean
brought
Machine.
Puyo. They actually brought Puyo Fever onto the West.
Yeah. Marcin, what about you, buddy?
I mean, he kind of took my my idea, but I mean, I'll reiterate. I do want to see. I mean, I know Yakuza 5 is coming out to the States. I'm assuming this year, hopefully. But I want to see is it one collection because the Yakuza games are spread out through 3 PlayStation consoles, and I want them all on one. because my selfish side says I don't want to buy, for 3 different consoles. I want it for one. And I think it'd be a good idea, for people who haven't played the other ones to be able to play them instead of just, giving us an hour or 2 hour long movie about the previous games, to release them all on either 1 or 2 discs. I don't know if they could all fit on a Blu-ray, but I'm assuming they could. Yeah.
They could always do what they did with the Metal Gear Legacy Collection, put it on 2 discs.
Yeah. And the other thing, I do want to see Phantasy Star Online too. I feel for the fans that do want it here over in the States, and they have to resort to, those fan-made servers that we talked about last time. So, bring that over here, and hell, bring Shenmue Online. Raise that from the dead. It had a couple footage. It looked like it was ready to go. Why not? Just give them that. And give something Shenmue to the hardcore fans out there. So
that would be fun.
Yeah.
Jason, what do you got?
Well, it hasn't been brought up in a long time. I don't even think it has been released yet. But Initial D Perfect Shift Online.
I want to play that.
I heard it was Japan only, and I don't even think they've worked on it in a while. But I think it could be done. The only Initial D game that was, I don't even think any of the Initial D games were brought to America besides the arcade
ones.
Games.
Yeah, I do remember seeing the arcade ones. Now, what system is this going to be released for?
This was going
3DS.
to be the 3DS.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. Yeah, so I assume it's just another racing game similar to the. No, it's not.
It's like Initial D, but kind of like a quick time event in a way. It's basically you watch a normal drift race like you would an Initial D episode and shift gears and control it like that. The gameplay aspect is more based on the customization and the online play of it than the actual gameplay itself.
And the interesting thing about this is that it's free to play.
Yep. So that would make it killing in America. There's a lot of Initial D fans out here.
Yep. Wow,
interesting. For me, I'm going to be cheating a little bit because it's not technically a Sega game. I'm going to go. Well, I'm not going to be cheating as bad as Kopke did because he did like that.
Beating off a list.
I'm going to pick Rodea the Sky Soldier, which is Yuji Naka's game that he's developing right now. It just looks so neat. I think it feels, or it looks at least, a lot like a Sega game. Just the movement and the gameplay videos that I've seen of him kind of flying through the air, it really reminds me a lot of Knights in a way, and Panzer Dragoon, and so I get that sense from it. And the characters look really interesting. The story, from what I've been able to gather, looks like it'd be fun. I think it's a game that would work really well on the Wii U. I think it just needs some more original games like this that aren't just Nintendo games. I think it would do well here. And I would like to see them do it. I think it's going to have some interesting 3DS integration with the Wii U game, and I don't know. I think I would like to see someone pick it up, even if it's not Sega, just maybe some other publisher out there that publishes some Japanese centric games, whether it's like Xseed or someone else, pick this up and bring it over here. Just even if it's just digitally, not even a full physical release, just a digital release that would be fun. So anyway, those are our picks. I'd like to hear from everyone else out there, our listeners. What Japanese exclusive games would you want Sega to bring over here to the West this year? Because I'm sure there's going to be a few of them, or I hope so at least. But yeah, it'll be nice. Maybe this is the year Sega really listens to all its fans and all those games that we just announced. We'll make it out that way.
Maybe they listen to our podcast.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
On the way to work.
I'm sure they do, especially those the Sega of Japan.
Yeah.
Every week they wait for the Nerdcast.
Yeah.
So let's get into what we've been playing. I'll go first really quickly because I've basically just been playing Yakuza on PS2. This is the first time I've really gone through Yakuza, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. The only thing that is really kind of pissing me off about the game is the camera system is a little frustrating, especially in certain battles and fights where you're constantly having to evade and parry your opponent. So you're moving a lot and you're moving laterally quite a bit. The camera gets really wonky and you're constantly having to reset it with one of the R buttons. When you're doing that, and then you're just using a lot of buttons, and the camera's moving all over the place. It's really hard to stay on target to keep your enemy targeted and either dodge, block, and attack. It can be frustrating. So I think that is one of my major gripes about the game. But aside from that, man, this game is really good. The writing is really well done. I'm into the story. I like just getting some cultural insight into the Yakuza in Japan, because I've never really have played a game that has done that. I know there's been some newer games and stuff out that have kind of gone into that, but I didn't play those. And I just really like the characters in it too. It's really good. I'm about halfway through it. I think Lee, who on the site, he's been going through all the Yakuza games too, and he's quite ahead of me. But he said Yakuza takes about 10 hours or so to get through. So I'm close to the 5-hour mark on it, and I'm having a lot of fun so far. So if you guys haven't picked it up, I definitely suggest you do, because you can still get it fairly cheap on PS2. So go for it.
Yeah, I need to. I haven't played PS2 in a while. I have like a whole stack of PS2 games on backlog.
Yeah. Okay, Morrison, before Kopke comes in and steals all the games that you're going to say, we'll give you the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, damn right I played Virtua Fighter 5 too. That was his idea as well. I actually, my last day of my PlayStation Now subscription, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to pay $15 after this, so I'm just going to use it up today. I played Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate, something like that.
Final Showdown?
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Ultimate Final Showdown, yeah.
Yeah, I suck at that game. I'm good at Tekken. I'm good at Dead or Alive. For some reason, I suck at Virtua Fighter. And I don't know why. But, I mean, the gameplay's cool. I've played Virtua Fighter, was it 2nd on Dreamcast? I have
that
actually...
3.
Oh, it's right here. It's
think
the
it was
Japanese
3.
version, if you guys don't see it. It also has the Shenmue demo in there. Project Mercury. Yeah, right. Yeah, I played that. I played Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. Yes, call me a casual, but I sometimes do like to play Call of Duty. Hey, Kevin Spacey killing it, like the same level as Troy Baker and Nolan North for sure. And I mean, his character is also similar to Frank Underwood. If you guys watch House of Cards, which I watched when I was in DC, I felt kind of like a cliche, but yeah, it's a good show.
I've been meaning to watch it. I haven't watched it though.
No, it's really good. And still, my continuing adventures in Dragon Age. It is really good, really long, and I'm still trudging through it. So yeah, that's it for me.
Nice. Kopke, what can you tell us about Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate?
The system is really different from what I've been experiencing from the previous Virtua Fighters, especially on the way of blocking and counter-attacking a combo attack. I think that's what he's been tricky, and I have been trouble with that. I like the system. It's kind of new and different from what I'm used to with the Virtua Fighter system, and it's costing me a lot of work to kind of connect those combos and kind of answer that the throws and which are the other ones that really get me into trouble. Like the throws, the hard punches, and the mid and low punches are kind of the trickiest part for me. Like, this really has a different system, and you have to react really quickly on the control. So that's the hard part for me on that game. The other one I've been playing is Shinobi for PS2, which was the only game that I was really regretting that was never on the Dreamcast or a Sega console. and was the only game that I was like, okay, if I ever have a PS2, I want to play this one, and I'm really loving it. The only thing that I don't like about this game is that has this kind of Sony style of displaying that I don't like, because this is like a more of endearing Sega title. You know, the way they have this typography or the fonts that they display in the menus, or the sounds are very Sony. I don't like that on a Shinobi title. And the other part is that there's this thing with the PS2 that, you know, when you see at the graphics, they don't look like crisp at all. Like this kind of choppy thing that the PlayStation, the PSX, and the PS2 do, and the Dreamcast doesn't, and the Saturn doesn't that too. So that is the thing that kind of feels off with this game, but the rest of the game is wonderful. I'm really loving it so far, especially the combos.
I really like that and its sequel, Nightshade. That was a pretty good one for the PS2.
I'm gonna be trying to get that one because I really want to play the Shinobi series for this console.
Also, with Virtua Fighter, as simple as the button setups are, it is such a technical game.
Yeah,
it really
that's
is.
The same with Virtua Fighter 5. Very technical.
Jason, have you gone yet?
No, but I guess I can go. It hasn't really changed much. I've still been playing Persona 3 like I was last week. Been playing Ultimax. I've been getting down a couple new characters. I've been swapping a lot between the roster. I have a couple people I play with almost daily online. I actually got back into Gran Turismo a couple days ago. I just got the update for 6 that came out. I've been playing with my Logitech. There's a bunch of new stuff they added. And that's pretty much it, besides Afterburner 2 also. But then again, that's Afterburner.
Nice. Yeah, I've been meaning to get back into Afterburner. I was during MagFest. I was pretty much just doing all the Street Pass stuff. It's awesome going to those conventions because that's like the one time where you can get a ton of Street Pass stuff completed. So I try to do that as much as possible when I'm there. So.
Yeah, just throw your 3DS in your pocket and just leave it on. Wake up the next morning. 200 Street Passes. Just nuts.
I know, pretty much. So that is going to do it for this week's Nerdcast. Keep checking out the site because we have some pretty exciting stuff coming up. And we'll get back to you. We'll be back. We'll try to get back Sunday for a show. So that'll do it. All right, take it easy.
Bye.